Pay off debt versus invest. The real math. Most people get this completely wrong. Sarah gets her first real paycheck at 28 and makes a decision that sounds responsible on the surface. She is going to destroy her student loans before she invests a single dollar. Mike gets the same paycheck, reads one article about compound interest, and decides the math says invest first and pay debt later. They both believe they made the smart call. They are both using real numbers to back it up. But one of them is ignoring a cost that never shows up on any brokerage statement, and the other one is ignoring a return that never appears on any loan payoff chart. And when you run the real math over 20 years, the answer is not what either of them expected. And it is probably not what the last financial influencer you watched told you either. Let's keep this fair. Sarah and Mike are the same age, 28, same job, same salary, $60,000 a year, same city, same tax bracket. They both graduated with $20,000 in student loans at a 6.5% interest rate. Their minimum payment is $220 a month. After rent, food, utilities, and that minimum payment, they both have $400 a month left over. Same starting line, same income, same debt. The only difference is what they do with that $400. Sarah goes scorched earth on the debt. She throws the full $400 on top of her minimum payment every single month. She is making a $620 monthly payment on a loan that only requires $220. She eats lunch at her desk. She skips the weekend trips. She says no to things she can technically afford. Her friends think she is being unnecessarily miserable. Her loan balance thinks she is a serious threat. In 26 months, she is completely done. The balance hits zero. Then she flips a switch. She takes that full $620 and starts investing it every month into a low-cost total market index fund. No debt, no interest, no split attention, just compounding. Mike reads a Reddit thread that walks through the math. His loan charges 6.5% interest. The stock market has historically returned about 10% annually. The gap is 3.5 points, and it clearly favors the market, the thread explains. He makes the minimum $220 payment each month and puts the remaining $400 into the same index fund Sarah will eventually choose. He feels smart. He brings it up at work. He has referenced the compound interest argument twice in casual conversation this week. His loans are still accruing interest while he sleeps. His investments are growing. He is playing both games at once and, as far as he can tell, winning both. On day one, Sarah has a mission and nothing in her brokerage account. Mike has a growing investment portfolio and a debt that charges him every night. In terms of which one looks better on a net worth spreadsheet at month 6, Mike is winning. He has real assets. Sarah has a loan balance that keeps shrinking and a savings account she refuses to touch. Nobody at a dinner party has ever been impressed by someone's debt payoff countdown. But nobody at a dinner party is running the 20-year math either. For the first 2 years, every visible scoreboard belongs to Mike. He checks his brokerage account, watches the number grow, and feels validated. Sarah checks her loan balance, watches it fall, and feels nothing resembling excitement. There is no ticker, no chart curving upward, no notification that she made money while she was asleep. She is deleting a number, not growing one. And those two things feel completely different, even when they are producing similar effects on net worth. Mike has a story to tell. Sarah has a spreadsheet with a countdown. By month 26, Sarah writes the final check on her student loans. Mike still has $8,700 left on his. Mike also has roughly $10,800 in his brokerage account, assuming a 10% average annual return on his $400 monthly contributions. He has more assets than Sarah at this exact moment. He is ahead on paper. If you took a snapshot of their finances right now and showed it to a stranger, the stranger would point at Mike. He has more assets. His strategy has visible proof. Hers just ended. What that snapshot does not show is what happened on the other side of Mike's ledger while his investments were growing. Over those 26 months, Mike paid $3,400 in interest on his student loan. That $3,400 did not invest. It did not compound. It did not build equity, or generate a return, or reduce his tax bill. It transferred from Mike's checking account to his lender's revenue column and disappeared permanently, and it came directly out of the same pool of money he was trying to grow. Sarah paid interest too during her paydown period, but she paid roughly $900 total because she was eliminating principal so aggressively the balance never had time to accumulate much. The difference between them is $2,500 in total interest. That number sounds modest right now. Run it forward 20 years and it will not sound modest. Now the actual story begins. Month 27. Sarah is debt-free and she keeps her word. She invests $620 every single month into the same index fund Mike is using. No debt payment, no interest, no split attention, pure compounding from a clean financial base. Mike is still carrying debt, still paying $220 to a lender and $400 to his brokerage, still watching both numbers move, one in the right direction, one in the wrong one. At his current pace, with interest still accruing on the remaining balance, he will not be fully debt-free for another 14 months. Month 40. Mike makes his final loan payment. Total interest paid over the life of his loan, $5,200. He now has a brokerage account worth approximately $16,500. He makes the same switch Sarah made and starts investing $620 a month. But Sarah is 14 months ahead of him. Her account is already sitting at roughly $12,000. Mike still has the larger balance, but Sarah has the head start. And the head start is what compound interest turns into a machine. Here is the thing nobody models. Those 14 months feel like nothing. They do not feel like a number that changes anything meaningful. But compound interest does not care how a gap feels. Every dollar Sarah put in during those 14 months had 14 additional months of compounding for the rest of their investing lives. Not just 14 extra months of growth. Every single year from month 27 forward, those early dollars are generating returns on returns that Mike's money never had the opportunity to generate. The gap is small at year 5. It is not small at year 20. By year 5 from their starting date, Sarah's portfolio is sitting at roughly $42,000. Mike's is at approximately $38,000. Sarah is ahead, but barely. At this checkpoint, most people would call it essentially a wash, close enough that neither strategy clearly dominates. And this is exactly where most people stop running the numbers. They see a $4,000 gap and decide the math does not actually matter much. That decision is the mistake. Year 7. Sarah is at approximately $65,000. Mike is at roughly $54,000. The gap is $11,000 and growing. The curve is starting to separate. For the first time, the difference is visible without squinting. Mike's monthly statements still show his portfolio going up. His strategy still feels like it is working. It is working, just not as well as Sarah's, and the distance between them is increasing in a way that no single monthly statement makes obvious. Year 10. Sarah has been investing $620 a month since month 27. At 10% average annual return, her portfolio is approximately $118,000. Mike has been investing $620 a month since month 40. His portfolio is approximately $95,000. The gap is $23,000, and it is moving in Sarah's direction every single month. Not because Sarah is smarter, not because she picked better funds, because she started sooner, paid less interest, and had more dollars compounding for more time. The math does not care about the narrative, it just runs. Mike is not losing badly. He has nearly 6 figures in his brokerage account by year 10. His strategy produced real wealth, but the argument that 6.5% debt interest versus 10% market return means you should always invest first is a calculation that ignores the total interest you are paying either way. You do not get to choose between paying debt interest and earning market returns. You pay the interest regardless of what you do with the extra cash. The only variable is how much interest you pay before you eliminate the debt entirely, and how much you pay is what determines the size of the compounding gap that follows. Here is where the story would be dishonest if I stopped at the numbers. The invest-first strategy is not wrong in every situation. It is wrong in more situations than the internet implies. If your debt interest rate is genuinely low, 3% or below, the math does favor investing first. At that rate, a reasonable stock market return clears the interest cost with room to spare, and the compounding advantage of investing early outweighs the slower debt paydown. In that version of this scenario, Mike wins the model cleanly, and Sarah's scorched earth approach was unnecessary. If your employer offers a 401k match, that changes the calculation entirely. A company matching contributions up to 3% of your salary is an immediate 100% return on that portion of your money. No interest rate on any consumer debt competes with a guaranteed instant 100% return. Before paying a single extra dollar toward any debt above 3%, you should be contributing enough to capture every dollar of your employer's match. This is not a debate. It is free money with a time limit that expires the moment you miss the contribution. If you are in a 0% introductory rate window, paying above minimums before the rate resets is a clear opportunity cost. Put that money to work in the market and pay the balance before the promotional period ends. The math is clean. Now the honest case against Sarah's strategy. Liquidity. During those 26 months of aggressive debt paydown, Sarah had almost nothing in a brokerage account. Her only buffer was a small emergency fund. If she had lost her job at month 15, she would have faced a remaining loan balance, a drained savings account, and zero liquid investments to bridge the gap. Mike had roughly $6,000 in his brokerage by month 15. That is a real difference in financial resilience. And resilience has a value that does not appear in any compound interest calculator. Psychological flexibility. The debt payoff strategy requires that deleting a number feels like winning. For some people it does. For others it feels like running backward while everyone else runs forward. If watching a loan balance fall does not feel like progress, the strategy will crack. Motivation is not a soft variable. It is part of the math. And the most dangerous assumption built into Sarah's strategy is the redirect. The entire model depends on Sarah investing $620 the exact month her loan hits zero. Not the next month, not after a small reward trip, not after upgrading her apartment because she deserves it after 2 years of discipline. If the freed-up payment migrates into lifestyle inflation, instead of her brokerage account, the entire mathematical advantage disappears. She took 26 months of delayed investing for nothing. The strategy has one critical dependency, and it is behavioral, not financial. These are real costs. They apply to real people. They do not change the math in the base model, but they determine whether the model applies to a specific individual. Year 15. Sarah is at approximately $230,000. Mike is at roughly $188,000. The gap is $42,000 and accelerating. Mike's portfolio is generating roughly $18,800 a year in annual growth at 10%. Sarah's is generating roughly $23,000. The difference in annual growth alone is more than $4,000 per year, and that difference compounds. Next year, it will be larger. Year 20. Sarah has been investing $620 a month for roughly 18 years. Her portfolio, at 10% average annual return, is approximately $430,000. Mike has been investing $620 a month for roughly 16.5 years. His portfolio is approximately $363,000. The gap is $67,000. And it is not closing. It is widening with every passing month because Sarah's larger base generates larger annual returns than Mike's base. And those returns compound on top of each other without limit. Total interest Mike paid over the life of his loan, $5,200. Portfolio gap at year 20, $67,000. Combined cost of the Invest First strategy in this scenario, approximately $72,000. For the privilege of having a $5,000 larger brokerage balance at the month 26 snapshot, Mike gave up $72,000 at the year 20 checkpoint. That is the number that does not fit in a Reddit thread. That is the number that changes how you think about what the interest rate is actually costing you. And here is the piece that compounds the gap further. If you took the $5,200 that Mike handed to his lender in total interest and instead invested it as a lump sum at month 26, which is effectively what Sarah did by not having that interest cost at all, that $5,200 at 10% annual growth becomes approximately $38,000 by year 20. Money paid in interest does not just disappear in the month it is paid. It vanishes from your compounding engine for every year that follows. The framework that actually works for most people is not picking a side in this debate. It is a priority stack. First, contribute enough to your 401k to capture every dollar of your employer's match. always. Before any other financial decision, no interest rate on any consumer debt beats a 100% guaranteed instant return. Second, build a real emergency fund before going aggressive on debt. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses and liquid savings. Without this, a single layoff or medical bill unravels the entire plan and forces you to borrow at a higher rate than the debt you were paying off. Third, attack any debt above 6% interest aggressively. At that rate, eliminating the debt is a guaranteed return that the stock market only sometimes beats, and guaranteed beats probable when the spread is that narrow. Fourth, when the debt is gone, redirect the full freed-up payment into investments immediately, not eventually. The month the balance hits zero. This is the single most important step in the entire strategy because it is where the math either compounds or evaporates. Fifth, carry debt below 4% without urgency. At those rates, the spread between the interest cost and expected market return is wide enough that investing first genuinely wins. Pay the minimums and let the market do the work. Sarah did not win because debt is the enemy of wealth. She won because she eliminated a guaranteed cost before pursuing a probable return, and she executed the redirect without hesitation the day her loan balance hit zero. Mike did not lose because investing is wrong. He lost because the gap between a guaranteed 6.5% negative return on his interest and a probable 10% positive return on his investments was smaller than the threat implied. And that small gap compounded for 2 decades into a number he never thought to model because his brokerage account kept going up. And going up felt like winning. The next time someone tells you to always invest before paying off debt, ask them one question. What is the interest rate? Because the answer that includes the interest rate is the only answer that matters. And if you want to know what happens when you add a Roth IRA into this exact scenario, when both Sarah and Mike are investing inside tax-advantaged accounts, while one attacks debt and the other carries it, that is a completely different conversation. And the math might change everything you think you know.